Hello everyone and welcome to today's Stocks and Crypto YouTube Charts video. I am No FOMO Charts. Today is Friday, July 25th, 2025, just about 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time here at night in the USA. This upcoming week is going to be a very busy week for stocks and economic data. Stock earnings releases, we have the big tech firms releasing corporate earnings, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, as well as Strategy, Coinbase, Robinhood, Qualcomm, and other global companies. Economic data, we have advanced GDP. Then we have on Wednesday, federal funds rate, FOMC statement about interest rates, tariffs and trade deals, FOMC press conference, and core PCE price index. This press conference is mainly about the interest rates, however. We have employment data as well, and some consumer sentiment. Recent events and news. USA stock market earnings season continues, big tech and FOMC week. President Trump said there's a 50-50 chance reaching a trade deal with the EU. Meme stock trading fades. Some meme stocks plunged this past week. Cryptocurrency market sells off and bounces this past week. SEC simultaneously approved new crypto ETFs, but immediately stayed the decision for full commission review. And we have just a few chart setups that my system is finding. However, big note, disclaimer that company earnings releases and news can override technical charts. So these are all maybe, because we're about to have a very volatile week. So for NASDAQ, it's just price is just near the resistance. It's near a multi-year trend line. SPY, the price already broke out above resistance zones because of good earnings. Circle, it's just daily stochastic oversold zone as well as Rigetti, price above certain EMAs. Mara is just, it looks interesting before earnings, hammer candle above a 50% Fibonacci zone. Does not mean buy. And for crypto, many altcoins pulled back and then bounced up from various support levels. Bitcoin price recently bounced up from 26 EMA support levels, so somebody bought Bitcoin there. Let's do SPY and Bitcoin. SPY, SPY on the daily chart, we're still in the uptrend since May. High, low, high, low, high, low, higher, high right now. Good earnings for the most part. We had a resistance breakout above 627, all-time highs right now, about 637 in the price. If I draw a trend line, it's actually looking really interesting, just really riding that support trend line as close as it can. And if I open up some EMAs, the short-term EMAs are still up-crossed, obviously, and the golden up-cross is still intact. That's why I do not underestimate golden crosses. Death crosses might be short-lived because this is stock market. Golden crosses, however, are very important, and then support bounce plays are very important. So there's no extreme warning sign. It's actually looking quite bullish at this moment. The only thing that'll make me change my mind is over the next 3 to 6 months, if there's some bad events or news, corporate data, and if we have a double top on a weekly chart, then I'd be more bearish. But if it's looking like this is looking like bullish zone until we have some kind of consolidation candles, which is not happening yet. Let's switch to Bitcoin. It's a clean chart. Bitcoin USD. So we had the flash sell-off because people are taking profits, most likely due to volatility on earnings and expected news. But Bitcoin did hold certain EMA zones, like the 26 EMA. It dipped all the way down to about 114,628, 114K above there, and then bounced back to almost 118K, 117K. So we're still in the uptrend still with Bitcoin, although it is volatile. If we look at the ATR, approximately $3,000. So it's approximately a 3% to 6% move on Bitcoin on any given day or event. So what happened with a lot of these altcoins is, which I'll show in a minute, but at least for Bitcoin, it started to have a double top and then a short-term resistance. That's what I was saying last week. So for me personally, I actually closed my swing positions, right? I took profit. If I bought in this zone and this zone, then I closed the profit just as a swing trader. But if I was investing for forever, then I would not sell. But if I'm just trading, which was my original plan, then I'm closing my plan. I move my stop losses up, and then this last dump actually took my profit for me, which is fine. That's swing trading in a nutshell. But we had that resistance below 120, 123,000. That's why we're still currently consolidating, going sideways right now. On the weekly, it's a little bit undecided right now because on a weekly chart, we had the shooting star, which prompted my my swing trading closing of the positions. And if we're going to have extremely bad news, if that ever happens, this could turn into a bearish evening star pattern. That's something we do not want to see, but it's definitely one scenario that can happen. However, this is Bitcoin, so we can still consolidate and then break out to the upside if everything is good with earnings and sentiment. So the levels that I'm seeing, resistance 120,000, support 117. I put a trend line. That liquidity was tested all the way down to 115 zone, 115K. So that's still holding. If somebody wants to find more hidden levels on a daily chart, there's the anchored volume profile, which helps. There's also the tool of anchored VWAP, which helps as well. I use a lot of upper bands and lower bands, but we can see the most traded price. Let's see, for 2025 on this chart, 104 to 107. And that was really obvious by every time Bitcoin went to 104, 100, it's always bouncing back in the past 3 months. So if that happens again, you can see here there's a hole on the side here of the 110 to 117 range. That's why we had that flash dip. But we want to watch out because the intraday, I know the intraday traders, they're trying to play the dips and the oversold bounces because it's still a bullish environment right now. But if I'm looking down here at my oscillators, it's starting to lose momentum in the longer term, in the squeeze on the MACD and the RSI, however stochastic. So what it looks like, probably one scenario that can happen on Bitcoin is that the price could continue to dip down and test. And once it gets really oversold, have a larger bounce. Because the technical indicators and oscillators, they need to reset on short-term and medium-term time frames. Sometimes that could take 1 to 3 months. The last time it happened, it took 1 month, and then we rallied higher on news. Okay, I'll just quickly look at some of the big tech stocks and then some altcoins, and then we'll end the video. So Meta, just making sure to remind people, ATR of $13, one ATR, so about 2% to about 4% range. So that support, a little bit of slanted head and shoulders. So somebody getting a little bit hesitant here, and then resistance zone as well. So if it does gap up, probably going to like 748, 750 area. And if it has bad earnings, just going to watch for this 684 zone. I do not try to predict earnings at all. Microsoft, one of the darlings of tech, this is a beautiful chart. Almost looks like somebody's algorithm is just buying nonstop intraday VWAP. But we're coming up on the earnings, and the weekly chart, it is a little bit overextended. So if they have anything bad happening at all, it can be a little bit problematic for Microsoft, but it's probably not going to crash too hard. Amazon as well, still in the golden up cross, the resistance zone of 243. Just keep it simple. Resistance zone 243, support zone 225. Apple, a little bit late to the game. I mean, in terms of the rally, it's not rallying as hard as other companies because of their AI, Siri, and some product and some sales news that happened. It's not the most bullish environment for Apple anymore. So if it pulls back, maybe 3 to 6%, and if it breaks out, maybe 6% as well. Let's look at just a couple of the charts I had here. So Circle, the only thing I want to point out is that on a daily chart, at least, we're approaching that oversold stochastic. And sometimes that could set up into a 4-hour momentum play because you see the MACD. This is happening in the most volatile week of earnings, but if it's real, it's still playing the triangle. Like I was saying last time, it's going to go to the bottom of that triangle. So now that it's here, we're going to see if that holds above 185. And if it's bullish, it could bounce up to 216 zone, maybe a 50% retrace. But what will make me cancel and not be interested in Circle is if we just have a big dump to the downside. Something to watch out for. RGTI as well. Just visually, it's looking like a rounding bottom. We already had a cup and handle on this, so to speak, cup and handle. So if this is real, the cup and handle, if it's going to keep going, it's supposed to go 83%, but 83% would be massive, and we need that would probably only happen if we have massive good earnings, but it's still in a longer term uptrend. It's not crashing yet, depending on the earnings. However, if it does, $13.1266, this EMA to the left yellow can be the support zone, or I could draw a trend line. However I want to analyze it. Makes the most sense. That could be one potential scenario. It would be interesting if we actually retest $20 as well if the earnings is good. Mara, just want to point out, we had this little baby up cross that just happened on the EMAs with the hammer right before earnings. So if this is good earnings, I can see this easily shooting up, rallying up to about $19 or $20 on the hype. Now, switching back to altcoins, I just want to point out, let me bring up another chart, that just using Bollinger Band and linear regression, it was getting a little too high and overextended, almost hitting 38.55. So then if I bought Ethereum, let's say in this zone, then I closed here, right? Let's see how much gain that was. That's 50% gain. That's fine for me, right? As a swing trader. But in terms of investing, high, low, high, where's the next higher low going to be for a possible re-entry? And if we even have a crash, even better in terms of re-entries. So I'm saying, I love the linear regression indicator. It's free on TradingView because it really helps me in the past 100 days just understand relative low versus relative high. And so when it gets to relative high and I start seeing some profit taking, shooting stars, right? Sometimes it happens in the middle and the halfway point. So just the mentality of a trader is if I was buying this upside down head and shoulders, I could make certain measured moves. But also, most people sell maybe 25% or half of their position. And that's why you see some of these wicks in the chart. And then if it keeps rallying, maybe people on their exchange trail their stop loss or move the stop loss up. And then once we get that Bitcoin double top, we're out as crypto traders. And then the big shorts come in and then gets oversold. And intraday oversold right here, like on a 4-hour, right? This is a perfect spot right here. But for me, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, so I missed that one. But in terms of, we're getting this little W action, and it's still in a downtrend, right? So that's why it's better to get in on the uptrend side than trying to play these little long bounces because they don't last that long. It's just safer for me to get in on a real setup, like a breakout, like happened here. Okay, Solana as well. Looks like chicken scratch on the chart, but Solana, if I turn everything off, keep it simple. Remember what I was saying last time? Months ago, there's a divergence setup. There's a fake out head and shoulders, and then we had the upside down head and shoulders, and that's why I re-entered Solana. Solana did not go as high as I thought, but still locked in like 20 to 25%, which is pretty good. But even for me, I'm looking for re-entry because higher high, higher low, higher high. I don't really like entering on just a little flash dip. That's not enough information for me. I need to see a real setup to increase my win rate and ratio. High, low, high, low. Where's the next potential spot I might be looking for? On Solana, I'm looking at maybe 175 or 150 zone. You can also Fibonacci the reverse way. And though that's close enough, 50%, 618 for me. But it's probably going to, in this bullish environment, only pull back to certain intraday EMAs, right? Short-term downtrend, get a double bottom. I didn't play that one because it happened yesterday for me. But I don't really like trading so aggressively anymore on crypto. I like more longer-term setups, like a 4-hour golden up cross and just let that thing ride until we get overextended. There was a bearish momentum setup and then the crash. So I don't like playing this crash side because from experience, crash side when this happens on penny stocks, meme stocks, altcoins, you name it, whatever's the hottest stock, it just never works out long term. It's like not the greatest strategy for me. The better strategy is as it's uptrending, I just buy one of the dips or buy a real setup, buy a breakout, and then I'm not micro trading. I'm catching the big one, right? 25, 50, 100%. This is crypto. Crypto's still alive and well. So maybe some other people, if they're on like hyper liquid overseas or something, they might only need like 3% and then they leverage a lot. But in USA, we don't really leverage that much for regular crypto trading unless somebody's doing futures. So let's go to Doge and then just end it here. Dogecoin. Now, interesting. Remember, we had the W, and if I bought here, I'm already out, right? I saw this. I saw this shooting star, and then this one attempt, and this right here, these two candles, they took my profit for me. It's just a lesson for me for crypto trading. Sometimes, if you just keep holding too long, I make nothing. Right? If I hold too long, I don't make anything. If I buy at the wrong spot and I hold too long, have a massive loss potentially. That's why I don't like buying these downtrend. I don't do that anymore. Long experience, a lot of experience and research shows just buy a real setup, like a double bottom, a huge double bottom, or upside down head and shoulders, and if it's uptrending, grab onto that early, and then I was patient for 30 days. Beautiful trade for me, right? It's like 50% profit. That's what crypto is all about. Not little 5% scalp stuff for me. I don't do that anymore. So if this is weekly W and we had a pullback, it's not over for Dogecoin. It's just my trade's closed. But in terms of where's this going, there's hammer candle right at the 20 SMA, EMA. It's okay. Maybe see if we could bounce up to 24, 25. And this is all happening with the volatility in stocks as well. That's why last week was a little bit more bearish for meme stocks. So the momentum kind of faded there. Most likely, the price action from May is going to copy paste happen here, right? You get a little flash crash. At some point, it bounce attempt. And if the next big bounce attempt fails, if we establish a lower high, then we could see a bigger dump. However, what's going to make it change for me is if this is high, low. If this is a higher low, maybe I do want to enter here either to catch this bounce or if it keeps going up. But the risk is a lot higher up here. That's why I like entering down in these levels. Over these levels meaning oversold levels, right? Because where's my setup? My setup is, for example, MACD histogram is starting to turn around. The price is starting to turn around. Oversold conditions, stochastic oversold. There's even a squeeze. And then the final one is the DMI, right? So I have like 45 days to decide what am I going to do here. 30 days. So for daily chart trading, I have to slow down a lot and be a lot more patient. I am not scalping at market open stock trading. That's not what I'm doing. I'm longer term swing trading. So there's some of the charts, and again, it takes a while for a setup to actually occur in terms of really, really good A+ bullish setup. We just had a whole bunch of those in the market in June. So when it gets high to these levels, I need more evidence that we're going to actually continue an uptrend. However, if somebody does want to really, really get in, this is not financial advice for me. If I just randomly bought the price right now, that ATR is about 2 cents, which is about 10%. So it could go 10% to 20% up or down. That's the volatility in the crypto market right now. So if 10% stop loss, I got to target maybe at least 15 to 20%. And if it fails, about to lose 10% on that position. So I cannot go all in. This is not an all-in setup for me. On the chart, this is not all in. This is like a 1% trade type of thing for me, just to see if I could catch this little bounce. All in plays could be something like down here, but even talking that to people is too dangerous, right? Or something like this, massive upside down head and shoulders on the best news possible, and then just get out. This one might have been like a larger size. I started sizing in and then built my full position. And then once I saw the shooting star, I'm like, all right, I got to put some stop losses up, and I'm out. All right, so remember, in my system and for swing traders, we know we're not getting A+ setups every day. Sometimes it takes weeks or months to occur. But while I'm waiting, I need to protect my profits. I need to protect my principal and always manage risk and not get too emotional in the charts or feeling any FOMO or anything like that, or regret or anything like that. It's just right now I'm patiently waiting for the next setup or the next amazing news. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you have a nice week. Remember, stock market going to be volatile, and let's always manage that risk. See you in the next video.